Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. My purpose is liberation only. I will remove importance from any phenomenon seen either with eyes closed, eyes open, either sweet, either bitter. I will not allow my mind to be impressed with the brightest light of all or with the darkest darkness of all. I surrender completely to God until that revelation happens in me. I will abide by those principles, by those highest qualities, patiently waiting for the dissolution of illusion. May this body become thy temple. May thy temple become worthy of thee. May only you abide here forever and ever. I'm only yours. Nothing for me. So good morning, everyone, once again. Just reminding all that we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. The number appears on the comments. You can send your questions directly. There's a question that is asked by many times of life, which is, what is the purpose of life? And this seems to be the answer for all mankind, but it isn't. So I will focus on the answer for the seeker of truth. Well, a seeker of truth is the one who is seeking truth, and hasn't found it yet. He is in the midst of illusion, like everyone else, with the same confusions or even more, because his level of restlessness is actually higher than others. This is what torments him and helps him, fuels his quest. He cannot establish himself in a peaceful way in the normal structures of society, because even if he wants to, deep down it doesn't resonate. It doesn't. So the purpose of life for the seeker of truth is that only. All his time should be devoted to the quest of liberation. If things happened in a logical manner, the logical way should be to evaluate, assess, and then engage. But that which is most important usually takes a long time to happen, this evaluation, and then the right engagement. Usually there's a distribution of investment according to the present observed needs. And as bigger as they are, as more immediate as they are, the bigger amount of attention they receive. And it seems normal because, well, that's what the majority is doing. But appearing to be normal, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it, how do you say? It doesn't make it work. In every aspect of human society, there is something which is observable. Intelligence is not what people think it is. It's not. Because one of the main things about society, which is observable, is whatever the majority is doing tends to be wrong. This is why at all levels of society, 1 to 5% reach the highest spheres and the rest doesn't. We don't need to talk about spirituality, but we can, it's the same. at all levels of human society. 1 to 5%, and 5% is a very big number because it's quite actually lower. 1 to 2% reach the highest spheres. 1 to 5 reach the a little bit lower ones. So whatever the majority is doing tends to be wrong. And in worldly investments, usually that 1 or 2% actually profits for the ignorance of the 98%. And they know this principle. So where the herd is going, need to walk the opposite way. It is something which is observable, known, but yet there's a kind of a magic. It's Maya's magic that ties people together. And everybody wants to be as the majority. They just want to be normal, to feel normal. So in a sense, they want to be common, average, which is interesting because everybody dreams for the highest. They want happiness, pleasure, but at the same time, they just want to be normal. But that happiness, that highest happiness, that's not normal. It isn't. So how can they aspire for something and the other at the same time? Well, logic and common sense, they are not abundant. In spiritual terms, it is more or less the same. Because going beyond these normal instincts is not easy. A part of everyone is connected to them. So one of the first things is to release yourself from these shackles of the need to belong, the need to be accepted, the need to be loved, the need to feel important. Because, well, as you are struggling to get all those appreciations, you will be pulled down. And that is normal. So nothing really works the way you imagine, but still you invest in the same direction. So when we look at the spiritual world, spiritual part of society, we get the same, more or less the same ideas, because it's a different context, but it still represents society as a whole. Not all seekers are the same. Not all seekers are at the same level of understanding and maturity. And still seekers tend to guide themselves by the majority of seekers. By the majority. Despite the fact that the majority of the stories of saints, sages, enlightened beings has nothing of normal. Despite that, everybody wants to be normal. Everybody wants to align with the majority because it's not about result. It's not about freedom. It is still about belonging, having an opinion which is accepted by all. It doesn't matter which opinion, only that is accepted by all. Or if there is a strong opinion, that it is accepted by all. And in spirituality, we see the same principle. Whatever the majority is doing tends to be wrong. And the design is in such a way that in a real path, you will not be able to find someone that can fully understand your moment. You can find those who can respect your moment, and that's rare. But to understand your moment, it's beyond their capability. That's the design. And it is to prevent something that the majority is still going through, which is the same investments for acceptance, to feel that you're a part of something, that you belong. And these are the roads to maintain illusion. So spiritual places tend to be more warm, more welcoming, less judgment, less judging, apparently, at least at the superficial level. And these values tend to bring a lot of confusion, to maintain confusion, even to put confusion where there was no confusion. So people tend to look at values, spiritual values, and with their imagination and through others' expectations and understandings, they tend to try to create a mask of goodness, of kindness, of compassion, of all of this, without failing to understand that these values that are very important, that's not their point. It's not to create another identity, is to deconstruct the previous one. One of the most difficult things in the spiritual path, it is to look at your own mud. And this is why the mechanism is there, to create masks of beauty, because you're unable to look at your own mud. But that's one of the most important things, because as you look at the values of spirituality, the high qualities, and you are looking at your own mud, you'll be able to recognize your level of mud, at least part of it. It takes time. It's quite difficult, but eventually it gets there. But the more you can see, the more you have the opportunity that in the critical moments, you can replace one value for the other. Because playing nice when there's no problem, that's easy. But fill yourself with compassion or abstract from hurting someone when something wrong, in your opinion, is done to you. That's very difficult. But this is what it means to replace the highest qualities by the lower ones and not to create a different image, a new mask to put on top of the existing, the previous one, as a social mechanism of interaction where I can show you how spiritual I am and you can show me how spiritual you are. And of course, in the same way that I don't believe in my mask, I will not believe in yours. Superficially, yes, I will. I want, I need. But deep down, as you are able to see more and more of your own shadow and make a good use of it, instead of running away, learning to remain, to keep your attention there, seeing it. If you can do this, then when the mechanism starts to work and the investment starts to take birth from that, you will identify them and replace them by their counterpart, their highest counterpart. And this is where changing really begins. It is the transition point from the old, crystallized, solid, complete identification to a new world, to a new reality. It is as real as the previous one, but not crystallized. So it is a much suitable means to the end. And the more you abstain from this, the more distance you gain from these structures, the more silence there will be. As you cut ties with worldly investments of all sorts, more silence there will be, more stillness. Because this Rajasic tendency, the impulses that drives you towards human investments, they cannot take you no longer. But make no mistake, to arrive at this point, big battles have to be fought. The worst kinds of battles. The battles that happen at your intimate, in your intimate aspect, in your core. And if all goes well, eventually, you will reach a point that contemplation, as you have dealt with these structures, of course, contemplation will become your nature. And that means whatever is arising, whatever it is, either ugly or beautiful, you're not distracting. you continue to contemplate, leaving all the space available, all the space available for your highest self, for God, whatever you want to call it. But for that, your life has to be aligned completely, dedicated fully to this quest. This is what drives, this is what's at the core. As long as this is the only thing that matters and drives your energy, it becomes a possibility. So people tend to share their energies with different levels of goals and investments, worldly ones, security, acceptance, all these things. And then at the same time, into their spiritual practices. And so much time is wasted. It's completely almost impossible to have a clear perception. And without a clear perception, you're not even aware of the level of difficulty. So there's room for imagination. Illusion is guaranteed. All those worldly things that you're fighting for, they are guaranteed. Transcending all that, that is what is not guaranteed. Your mind is full of I have tos and I need tos and it should be's. But as you cultivate the right mindset and intensify your spiritual practices with the sole purpose of liberation, and you dedicate all your time, these have tos, should be's, they start to fade away. And as the process becomes alive, then it becomes possible for the narrow path to open in front of you. And as it opens, let's hope you have done your homework and you are able to honor it. So if the calling is there, evaluate what have you been doing with your time. And for those of you who find it very difficult to take it seriously because it appears to be painful, or if you have gone further, it is painful. Let me just remind you something. First of all, it can be painful, but it is real or in the direction of reality. That is one aspect. And the other aspect, which is very, very, very important and undeniably real, is life is full of suffering. Worldly life ends in suffering, is exclusively about suffering. You pass beyond circumstances, good, bad, it doesn't matter. It is away from your truth. It is absence of your real self. And that is by far the highest suffering. And as for circumstances, for one side, they are there to entertain you. By the other side, they are there to empower you and to free you. And the ultimate tool for this is suffering. So suffering is unavoidable. And those who try to avoid suffering, they are in fact embracing suffering, going after suffering, preserving suffering, increasing suffering. Those who are embracing the suffering that rises from the replacement of the mud, the darkness, with these highest spiritual values, with the purpose of liberation, their suffering will end in glory. You cannot avoid pain, but you can make the pain to serve a higher purpose. And that is to embrace the pain that comes from letting go of illusion, letting go of the investments in illusion. Remember this. Test this. Suffering is unavoidable. So choose carefully which one you're embracing, because one is never ending. The other ends in perfection. Okay. So for today, that is all. Next satsang will be Wednesday, 9:30 in the morning, Brazilian time, UTC -3. Reminding you that for those who want to intensify their spiritual work, their meditation, to take it to another level. There are the meditation retreats that I've spoken about. They are in the Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. And it is an opportunity for those who want to work seriously, who want to work hard. The next one will be from the 1st of May. The next one, actually the first one open to others outside of the ashram, is on the 1st to the 12th of May. Okay. And it's all donation based, and it's not in a luxury resort. It's in a simple, humble ashram when you will get the basics that is needed, even beyond basics. Basics would mean even much less, but okay, for normal standards, the basics that you need for meditation. Okay, so make the best use of your time. Instead of just walking around, moving, and continuing your day-to-day investments, question, what am I doing? Where am I using my time? What is the calling of my heart? And for the seekers of truth, because these are the ones that I'm talking to, make it count. Make it count. What?